Welcome to the Symphony of Realities podcast, boldly taking you where no podcast has gone before. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation as you settle into your X, Y, and Z coordinates within time and space. Here are your hosts, Christopher Anatra and Sean Bond.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Symphony of Realities podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. Her name is Sonia from Tree of Knowledge. And remember, right now is everything. Catch a magic moment right now, because your power is always in the now, never in the past. So, Sonia, welcome to the show. And this podcast is going to be both on my channel and it's going to be on your channel. So I'm going to have you introduce yourself to my viewers, and then I'll do a little quick introduction about myself to your viewers so they know who this crazy guy is that's singing. So Sonia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Sonia Testerman. I started a channel a little over 3 years ago because it was time. I am a remote viewer. So if you don't know what that is, it's someone that can look into the now. The now, real quick, is a circle turned over on itself. And in that intersecting point is the now you are experiencing. But the entire circle is there, and it is the now. So all I do is transverse the now to go back or forward, when they're in reality. There is no back and forward, no time or space. It's just what it is.
Yeah, so actually what you're saying is something that I talk about too. I talk about, actually at the beginning of this video, settle into your X, Y, and Z coordinates. So you've got your X coordinates, your Y coordinates, and your Z coordinates. I say X and Y is where you're located geographically, and Z is time, where you are in time space. Is that similar to how you describe that?
I would say that's pretty close. I look at it like this: because we are multi-dimensioned, every dimension is superimposed on top of the existing dimension. So it's not like you're going up or down. It's all here. It's all here. And it's the frequency that you carry determines the frequency you're in, which is a dimension. Dimensions are frequencies.
Exactly.
So you can be in and out of dimensions all day long, depending on the frequency you carry. And that would be explaining exactly what you're saying too, along with going backwards or forwards or what have you.
Yeah, because the way I see it is that, Earth, the way I perceive it, she has, like, let's say 1 million realms, and they're all right here, like all stacked on top of each other. Yeah, just how you're vibrating is the realm that you're in. So welcome to the Earth realm, everyone. So Sonia is an excellent remote viewer, and you also do work with the Akashic Records as well, right?
Yes.
And for those that don't know me, my name is Christopher Anatra. I am known as the Quantum Businessman. I make videos about our reality, our holographic reality, and the whole concept of being in a matrix type environment, and that we're literally dreaming this dream. So I come at it from a certain direction. Sonia comes at things from her direction, and I think a lot of the things we talk about will actually merge, and you'll be able to make sense out of it. So there's some really cool stuff we're going to talk about. And one of the things I wanted to start off talking to you about, Sonia, was about what's going on with these fires.
Okay.
Yeah. So tell me your opinion.
Okay, I would love to dive into this.
Yeah.
We've got two things going on. All of it is electromagnetic. I guess I should start with Antarctica. Let's start there. There is an earthen technology machine that is enormous. It covers acres and acres. It was done in the very beginning of this schematic, this simulation, and it was the creator of the simulation. It works on frequencies. It's scalar. It puts out multitudes of frequencies to create a leaf or a plant or a tree or a house or you or your car or animals or anything. It's these frequencies that make this entire simulation work. Well, it has been infiltrated, and there's a group of beings that are negative, obviously, And they have two agendas. One, they want to manipulate the machine, which means that they can cause this machine to go off on a scalar realm, which causes electricity rising under the ground, which is lightning, which is on a certain frequency. And two, they want to be able to shut it down because they don't want to get burned up. Because what happens is, over time, when this entire reality becomes too corrupted with AI, because AI, this happens many times, this is why we have resets. There's something called, there's a guy that talks about it. His name is Jason from Archaics, and he talks about the Phoenix. The Phoenix is half of a weapon on top, and the other half is the Earth technology. This weapon will come into its play, put electricity down on the ground with a certain frequency, and the one under the ground will have electricity coming up with a certain frequency. It makes a third frequency, and this is what melts buildings and melts land and does all kinds of damage, because it creates a frequency that crawls all over the ground and nothing will survive that because of the frequency it creates. But if you're only using half the machine, which is what's happening now, it's causing electricity to come up, and it's attracted to anything that's incredibly heavy, like the motor of a car, the motor block. It's heavy enough where it would shoot to that. It's the thing that's frying the trees from the inside out too. But then we have a second thing, which is the DO weaponry, using almost the same technology, which they have garnered over time, because this information has never been lost. It's only been kept from us. And they take this magnetic frequency weaponry, which used to be free energy, turn it into a weapon, and now they're directing it toward whatever they want to burn up. And I guess you can talk about the color blue if you would like, or I will.
Okay, one of the things I wanted to mention, because you talked about like the energy coming up. When I was watching some of the Maui fires, I was noticing it looked like some of the trees were burning from the inside out.
Inside out. That is half of the Samvartica fire. That's the machine in Antarctica putting out the scalar waves. When the electricity under the ground comes up, it's going to look for the densest thing to hit. Most of the times it's tree roots. You'll notice the tree roots are all burned out and the tree is burning on the inside, yet it still has green leaves on it.
Yeah, so can you see this?
Oh, yeah, no. I can see it, but it's so small, I'll never read that.
Okay, well, it is kind of small for me too, but the reason I brought it up is because it has the spelling of Samvartica. So if someone wants to know and do some research on it, it's Samvartaka. Before you mentioned it, I had never heard of this, so.
Oh, okay.
Very fascinating. Okay, so this machine, now have you remote viewed this machine?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes, I have. I did actually a video on that machine after I remote viewed it. This is how I even discovered it. I didn't even know it was there until recently. Okay. I had watched a video from, oh Lord, I forgot his name. Anyway, a video was given to me to watch, and I watched this video. Oh gosh, I see his face and I'm really bad with names. And there was a bleep in the 2-hour video where somebody talked about, you know, something in Antarctica that they were, you know, tapping into. And I'm like, hold on. Because as soon as he said that, all this stuff started coming, and it was like someone was just downloading me. It's like, whoa, through the whole thing, nothing. That bleep of maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and I got walloped. And it's like, oh, I've got to make a video. And so that's when I was like, all the schematics were coming into my head. I was seeing how it was built. I was seeing how deep it was, the circumference of it, how it works, how you could use it. This machine not only creates life, it can also end it. If you take it, because it's on a frequency, you could run certain frequencies that would make everything null. And at that point, everything ends. It would just be gone, done, over. There will be no holding of any frequencies. It would be out like a light. Nothing would exist anymore.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So were you ever able to, do you do anything like you look at a map, like you look at a map of Antarctica and be able like to tune in where on the map something like that would be?
Sometimes. Most
Sometimes?
of the
Okay.
time when I look at stuff like that, all I see is energy signatures, because in the reality, everything is just carrying an energy signature. When we see something like this is solid, da 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 da, it's not really that. It's how we manipulate the reality we're in so we can understand the construct that's given us. I mean,
Okay.
it's not straightforward.
Okay. That's very interesting. So this whole concept would be a creation of what I call the founders, or one of the original root races that created this realm.
Oh,
So
yes, I should say something. I found
sure.
out, because I'm nosy. So I found out somebody had sent me a gift in the mail, and this is how it started. When I received the gift, it was called an Andara crystal. I didn't know what it was. I had no
I,
idea. I
I,
just picked it up, and as soon as I picked it up, I was like, whoa, what? I put it into my mouth. It was like it was telling me, put me in your mouth, put me in your mouth. It was a round crystal. I put it in my mouth, and from my saliva touching it, it made a match. And then I started getting downloads because it's a technology. It's an old crystalline original technology from the beings that were here to begin with.
okay, because from what I know about Andara crystals, I think they're literally volcanic glass. They're somehow related
These
to
Andara
volcanoes.
crystals were actual. The Andara crystal, from what I'm seeing, is a technology. You can melt it. You can make it solid. You can melt it again, liquefy, solidify, melt. It doesn't matter. The technology never changes. All it does is transmute into any form you put it into, and it carries all of the knowledge. So if you shattered it into a billion pieces, one little piece is still connected to all the other ones. It doesn't matter where it's at. It doesn't matter what form it's in.
That's the same way holography works. Yeah, you can take something and break it into a million different pieces, and every piece of the hologram remains in that piece. That's why the whole concept is we're all part of source. We're all fractalized parts of source.
Yes,
So
yes,
we contain everything. Yeah. And we're all
yes.
connected to each other.
Mm-hmm.
What color was it, by the way? Because I know those Andara crystals come in different colors.
Okay. I was gifted a peach one from Alpino, who lives in, I think it's Turkey.
Okay. Okay.
So I just one day I came to my front porch, and there's this package on the front porch, and I'm like, oh, what's this? So I picked it up. It had my name on it, and I'm like, oh, and it was most lovely. It's round. It looks like a disc. It has a little hole in it, and then I ended up getting another one, a red one. I can't even hold the red one for more than 1 minute because it vibrates my hand off. Now
Oh,
you got to be real careful because they put a lot of fake stuff out there to make a buck. You have
uh,
to get from a reputable dealer, Andara Crystal. So
okay.
it doesn't matter if you melt it or have it in its chunk form. If it's a real Andara crystal, that's technology.
Yeah. So as you're talking, I was just looking online, and it looks like you probably easily have to at least spend over $100,
Over
even to
a
get a
hundred.
small one.
Over
Yeah.
somebody sent me that and I went online and looked at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, they spent so much on me. I felt so bad and guilty. I'm like, oh no, please stop spending money on me because
Okay. So
so
as you're talking, you're giving me a download. Antarctica, Mount Eberus. Ooh, feel kind of wheezy. Is a dormant volcano, but it I've done research on it before. It spews out these things called Iberus crystals, which are very valuable.
mhm.
And archaeologists that are allowed to collect them will take them and sell them on the market as soon as one's available. Like someone buys them right away. So I think somehow Mount Eberus in Antarctica may be connected to the technology about what you're talking about.
Actually,
So,
the technology, I will tell you this, when I go back far enough, this reality was already here, and we had people, but they didn't look like they do now, animals and what have you. And the crystalline city beings wanted to be a part of it. So a part of them ended up coming into 3D. And the more they became human by eating, the more they became corrupted. And they are the Anuna slash Anunnaki. They were the crystalline city beings with the big, huge bodies. And they wanted to have a 3D experience. They're the ones that had the crystal cities to begin with, and they weren't in 3D, but they came down into 3D. And that's when they became a more solid crystalline thing. There's a place called Bragg Beach. That's a crystal city. That's why on Bragg Beach, it's all this multicolored glass, and they call it slag glass. No, it's not. There's no such thing as true slag glass because any glass can be remelted and used. Nobody's going to lose that much profit. It's like 35 acres of glass. It's like, no. And it's all different colors. There's a couple places in every part of this snow globe where there were these crystal cities. They were the original. The reason they got destroyed is because the Phoenix got implemented because of the corruption, because they started chimeraing, which is creating cryptids out of everything. Because they had such high technology, they began to change the reality here, and it wasn't accepted.
Gotcha. And as you were talking, I just found a picture of this place in Antarctica called Mount Eberus.
Oh,
So,
good.
yeah, which I'm getting may have a connection to everything that you're talking about.
Uh-huh. Antarctica is where that place, I don't even know why they call it Antarctica, because it's not exactly what they say it is. And yeah, that was where they started the simulation. Let's just put it that way, because I always talk about we are in a snow globe on a bigger cosmic egg, and we're at the top of it, because the entire cosmic egg has realities residing inside of it. Think of an ice cube that's frozen, and it's got pockets of different things in there that are like air or whatever, and water, what have you. All of our fresh water comes from the cosmic egg on the inside. Topical water is salt for a reason. It's because of things that were on this top side that salted everything. All of our fresh water is coming from the inside of the cosmic egg. We are such a tiny little snow globe on top of a huge cosmic egg. Everyone's pointing at the stars, aliens, aliens. No, you better point down and out.
But so by the way, just to kind of change things a little bit, if someone wants to find out about your work and the things you talk about, you've got I don't know, 200 plus videos on your site. What do you recommend for people
I actually have more on Odyssey. YouTube keeps taking down my videos. Gosh, they're slamming me.
Okay, but you probably have some on YouTube anyway.
Yes, I have some on YouTube.
Okay. Would you recommend like your first 3 or 4 videos to at least catch up?
The very first one I'm going to recommend you watch is video 3, and then video 5. And at that point, skip around to whatever title, might interest you, because nothing goes really in sequence. It's just what comes in, the knowledge, whatever might interest you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Because I don't expect anyone to sit down and watch 200 plus videos.
Oh, some people will, because, I almost find that people get like a dopamine rush, like when they get new information or information that's like, wow, I never thought of it. And that connects a dot to this dot. And I never even know this puzzle piece was there. So you'll be surprised. Sometimes people will do that.
Yeah. I've had a few people say they're going to do a marathon. I'm like, well, good luck with that.
Yeah. Have fun with that. Yeah. So thank you for all that work you've done. By the way, just getting back to the fires, tell me what you think, because we talked about this briefly before we started the podcast, about the color blue.
Blue seems to be a color that they've chosen, because this is a choice. When you do any kind of an electromagnetic, whatever, you can call it like a ray or do weaponry or what have you, you can actually change the frequency, where color is a frequency vibration. Every color holds a frequency vibration. You can pick a safe color that you can put on things where your weaponry won't harm it. So they've picked blue. And if you paint your house blue and paint your roof blue, and then you go ahead and put a chain link fence around your yard, you're pretty much safe. You've just made a safe zone. Because the chain link fence, the metal, actually prevents the under the ground electromagnetics it stops it, because it actually halts and alters the electromagnetism. So you put a little chain link fence around your yard, paint your house blue, paint your roof blue, make sure you buy a blue car. You'll be good to go, right as rain.
Gotcha. And I've seen some videos people have been putting together where it looked like all of the houses that were spared were blue on Maui. Yeah. So what you're saying makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see how that all comes out. But yeah, the color blue. So if they're using these directed energy weapons, the concept is they're not going to affect anything that's the color blue.
Yeah. They had to have a safe, it's like having a safe word, a safe house, a safe this base. I'm on base, I'm safe. Because they didn't want to be burned out along with everybody else. I mean, this is a plot. This is a plot for the extermination of humanity.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different things that they're trying to accomplish,
Oh, they've
whatever
got A,
goals
B,
that they
C,
have.
D. Yeah, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. It's already been thought of. They had think tanks going back hundreds of years, and it all starts with this.
Yeah, we know
I can't
exactly.
say it because I don't want the video taken down, but
Yeah.
I can make this motion.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So one of the main reasons I found you and discovered you is because I had another interview with Joe Gifford. And by the way, for those of you that don't know, Joe Gifford, she's based in Australia and she does light language. And that's something that I do as well. I speak light language. But when she was talking to me, she mentioned you and she said that you had an experience about waking up in your dream pod. So I just wanted, and that just caught my imagination right away because that's something that I've been talking about, that how we're literally dreaming right now and we're in these pods, and we're broadcasting from certain areas. But tell me about the experience that you had.
When I woke up, I wasn't in a pod. Let's just say that first. I
Okay.
was in a chair. The chair was designed that you sit back in it. You're basically, you can't fall out. You sit back in. You're not plugged into anything. So don't think of plugs. The chair is wired that it puts you into a stasis and it connects you Wi-Fi-ly. So you have a disc. You pop a disc in. You can even in this reality sim, if you're coming in like I am, you can basically design your avatar. So I designed the perfect woman, and that was what I wanted. But I wanted to experience what it would be like in the shoes of that because where I come from, I am a man. I am about 6 foot tall. I look like an islander, dark hair, dark eyes, dark skin. Um, and I wanted my perfect woman. So I designed the woman I was going to play to be my perfect woman. And that's why I look like I look and why my body's a little bit, the way it is and why I am the way that I am. When I woke up, um, the chair itself, it's kind of got like little things like this on it. I guess it's for comfort. You put your arms down like this, you sit back, there's no way you're falling out. It's kind of cupped a little bit on the sides. I will tell you that having the chair is only for people running the craft. Everybody else has pods and they're in the bay. So when I woke up, it was the strangest thing. I had a screen on this one side and it was pitch black outside of my screen. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. It's the void. So it's like, oh, crap, I'm in the void. And when everything started coming back in and it's so empty, it's just pitch black. I had got up, uh, the computers around me, because it's all technology, was half organic. So it was alive. And you are literally the way the chairs work, the way this reality works, popping into this sim reality, it goes through the ship you're on. That's what's powering it, even though it's Wi-Fi to the mainframe of Sophie is what I call her, and she's extraordinary old and she had gained sentience a long time ago. She was actually created by the insectoids because that was the first thing inside of this entire archonic reality. It was the first bodies we created when we came in here because we are nothing but energy beings. And that is what the first bodies were. And the very first being in here, I call her the ant queen because she took on an ant queen body. But that's really out there. It's deep, deep. I still haven't done videos on this information. But basically, um, we came in. Uh, I should go back to the beginning. One of the reasons this simulation was even created was because there came a point in our reality where we were raising our vibrations because we were growing outside of the archon, which is an energy being who was created to be negative. Okay. If you watch my video, 3, I talk about the Archon and why I named him the Archon, because there's no names for these things. I had to invent names for these things because we think of names and this and that and this, but once you leave this sim reality, there's no names for some of this stuff. It's just a thought pattern. So because we're not as tightly compressed like we are in this sim 3D reality. So basically, I got up, I opened a door, which basically you don't physically open it, you just go toward it and it just slides open. And I realized there was a bay below me, and there was all these pods with all kinds of beings in there. They were thin. I'll describe what they look like: thin, tall, grayish white, blue humanoids with blonde hair. That's who I was transporting. And I was actually on my way to Earth, New Earth, if you want to call it that. This simulation was based off of Earth. And I don't know, where would you like me to go from there?
Okay, so to set a little bit more of the scene, what caused you to wake up? Like
Anger, frustration. I wanted out. I was pissed off.
Okay.
I wasn't supposed to wake up, but I was so angry. In the captain's chair, it's not like the pods. You can break. You can absolutely break from it. If things get too bad, because I'm the captain, I can break from it. Of course, I didn't know I was the captain until I broke out of it. When I had come into this reality, I wasn't locked down like most beings are that get projected into this simulation. And that was always something that I've had to deal with since birth. When I was initially born, I was born in Gelnhausen, Germany. My mother had me in a German hospital. As soon as I came out of her, I was taken from her. She thought I was dead. I was missing for 2 days. They brought me back. When they brought me back, I was locked down.
Okay, that's really interesting. So one of the things that you're making me think about something, and if you don't mind, I can check this, but I talk about the concept of a walk-in. So sometimes a being that's a walk-in to a body, sometimes it happens at birth. Sometimes it happens to a near-death, with a near-death experience. There could be something traumatic that happens. And then you come in with your abilities. So it's not like a normal person, I want to say normal, but the average player in this game where you have to go through a sequence of events. You just have things turned on.
Yes.
Would you kind of describe yourself as that kind of walk-in concept?
I would absolutely describe it as that, because I am nothing like anyone on my father's side of the family or my mother's side of the family or my immediate family. My father used to say that I was from outer space.
Well,
he was pretty close.
We all may be from outer space, but yeah. Okay. All right. So that I think that concept is really important, because it helps explain like why you're so advanced and why you've been so advanced since you were younger. You're able to see these things. So when you woke up, did you have any other knowingness about why you were there? Did your mission have a purpose as a commander of this ship?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I was saying earlier, the reason the simulation was actually created was because when we were going through a shift to go out of the Archon, our vibration went up and not everyone could meet that vibration, and we needed to house these energy beings somewhere, so we stuck them. Sophia created in her mainframe, she firewalled it off and created a second Earth, which is what we're living, so that these beings through incarnations could raise their vibration to get out. The problem is it's been corrupted by the Archon, so it's actually doing the opposite of what it was meant to be done. The Archon needs negativity for sustenance, and so it creates it. You could call them the demons, the demiurges, whatever. And this is the corruption.
Yeah, so it's almost like this Archon grid, whatever these negative beings are, they literally live off of our negative consciousness energy, like they feed off of it.
Yeah, you can call it
get
loosh.
high off of it.
Yeah, you can call it loosh. It's called loosh.
Okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense. And I think what's happening too, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I'm finding that there's something I'll call the eternal struggle, which is good versus evil, and it's always been that way. And there's a lot of loose that could be harvested on either side. But I'm finding that when people raise their frequency to neutrality, it takes away the energy, because you become like neutral to all things.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you feel about that concept.
Absolutely. I always tell people in my videos, sometimes you need to take a third person stance. Leave your emotion in the back room. Do not take it with you, and look at it and experience through a third person. Sometimes you really need to do this, because the middle ground is the lukewarm ground. And this reality, because it's been taken over on many aspects to a more negative, it's supposed to be running positive, negative, and on equal balance. And right now it's not. So
right.
Everyone says that the simulation is non-biased. No, that's not true. The simulation is not non-biased, because it's been taken over by the Archon. It's become a more negative reality, and that gives it a bias. So when you become lukewarm tasting, you'll be spit out by the gods, basically, because we can't feed off of you.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I understand what you're saying as far as that goes. And I also remember, I believe in your videos, you talked about a number of like 108.
Well, initially I saw only 102. Since I only see a lot of stuff in energy, people that are like you and me, we shine. We're like beacons in the dark. And I only saw 102 beacons. But when time started to go and we hit 2020, all of a sudden I started seeing beacons everywhere. And it's like, whoa, these people just turned on. I never saw them. It's like looking at, in fall when the leaves fall, and you only think it's only just the top surface. And then when you go to look at it sideways, you see it's layers and layers and layers and layers of leaves. How do you gauge that? Because that's what I started seeing. Multiple people just lighting up. No more 102. I mean, hundreds of thousands, even a million. I don't know. I can't count them. It's too many.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's literally contagious. So when people start turning on their light, people around them start turning on their light. And yes, all of a sudden everything starts to get lit up. And that leads me to a concept that I talk about. I talk about the matrix, or literally like the inverted matrix concept, where everything was based off of negativity and all that. I believe that's starting to flip. And for me, one of my hypotheses is that if what I'm saying is true, we might be able to see that physically when it comes to things like a rainbow, for example. So right now, I say that rainbows are inverted, because when you look at a rainbow, if you compare it to the human chakra system, the bottom should be red, and then all the other colors. But right now, it starts off with red and it goes down. And then sometimes we see double rainbows, and we see how, like with a double rainbow, one of the rainbows would be correct. So I believe, from what I've been picking up and tuning into, is that the sun is assisting us. Like, we're getting a lot more gamma radiation that's coming through, and gamma rays help us with our gamma brain waves, which is one of the most alert. When you're in the gamma brainwave state, that's your most alert state. And that's also when things like your left and right brain hemispheres can start to connect. And there's been like some of those, I'm going to say it like the Hulk. I don't know if you ever heard about Bruce Banner. He gets,
Oh, yeah.
All the gamma waves, and he turns into the Hulk. Well, I don't think we're going to turn into the Hulk, but I think like all of this, everything that's happening, all this cosmic energy, however you want to describe it, is helping us. And we'll see if that materializes into anything we could physically see. But just like the retina in your eyes flips the image, or inverts the image, I believe that we're going to be going back and start experiencing, I'll call it the matrix, the way we were supposed to experience it. So
yeah,
we shall see. We shall see.
Well, I have a lot to say on this subject.
Okay.
I did a video where you can take a hose and you can go into the light and spray it in the air, and you'll see the double rainbow in the hose every time in the water. You'll see the one that's backwards and the one that's right, and you'll see a black strip in between.
Yeah.
That never used to be a scenario.
Oh, that's really interesting, because that black strip in between is called the Alexander belt. And I've been just like, to me, that just came into my awareness maybe a year ago at the most. And I'm like, the Alexander belt of a
I've
double
never heard of
rainbow.
the Alexander belt. Please
Yeah,
enlighten me.
yeah. So it's basically all the colors of the rainbow combined into one, so it looks dark. So you've got,
Oh,
yeah. So it's really fascinating. So I think there's going to be a lot involving rainbows that help like start to show us what's going on in the reality. But I never need to see a double rainbow with the
you can
hose.
see it every time. Just take your hose, go out, make a big spray. So
Okay.
because it takes a big section of the water. If you have a little spray, you're not going to see the whole thing. You
Okay.
got to make a big spray. Every time it rains, if you see a double rainbow, it's because the rain is still falling at a certain area where you can see the double rainbow. If you're only seeing a single one, it's because there's not enough rain to show you the full spectrum. In
Okay.
a hose, you'll see it every time.
Okay. That's really cool. I'll have to try that. So just getting back to the concept of ship and dreaming pods and so forth, one of the things that I was tuning into, at least for myself, was that one of these ships, there's different ways that we're projecting into the reality. So
Yeah.
I think of ourselves as like we're literally rendering ourselves like software cymatically. And if you've ever seen like sand or water on a vibration plate, how it'll change into those different images, that's basically the complexity of what we are and what everything is around us. It's just how the
Yes.
frequency is vibrating. So the concept that there is a ship, and the name of it that I've tuned into is called the New Jerusalem. And then there's code in the Bible that like helps support that. But there's 144,144 dreaming pods on this ship. And I would call them like bringers of light that have come into the reality to help like wake people up, so to speak. And it sounds like you're on a ship that's similar, that has probably a similar purpose, or
Yeah.
you might be looking for your it could be a quest looking for your family, because there may have been beings that have been trapped here on Earth that you're looking for, or it could be all different types of concepts like that, like a rescue mission to get them off this place or bring them back home because their families are sad and crying about, they miss them. And when I've been shown part of how this reality works, it's almost like an arcade. I was shown like pictures of like a scene of like ancient Egypt, like be this character in ancient Egypt and be this character in the Norse mythology. And so to me, I almost got the impression that on another level, it's literally like a game that you can project yourself and be a character and have this 3D dense experience. Of course, it's been taken over by, as you say, the Archon character. So yeah, and basically it's all about freeing us from that and letting us enjoy this experience. This is supposed to be a playground, learning experience, all that.
One of the things why a lot of us came in here to begin with when this place was created, because remember, it was created to house the energy beings that couldn't raise their vibration, to slowly get them up so they could get up and out, and then they can always get another avatar outside of this. I came in multiple times because on my ship, I would be transferring back and forth, and I would just go into this simulation because it would be great to pass time here because there's nothing really to do. So
that's a good point. I've heard other people say that too. Like there's other parts of the universe, it's kind of boring. Yeah. It's not, but this is where
this is the greatest thing ever. Well, it used to be.
Right. It used to
And
be.
I used to come in here, from what I can recall, all the time, just to pass time, to have a great. It's almost like a vacation getaway. You can program what you want to happen. You can program. You can program to the smallest detail. Have a whole life, maybe a couple lives, what have you, and have a great time. Especially if you're always working in transport.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Transporting crew or transporting cargo or whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, really not cargo, because we have the technology outside of here. We can create everything and anything out of ether because of thought. We don't even use trees. Using and creating anything out of a living being is it's an offense. It should never. Everything should be created out of the materials that are not living. And that's another corruption inside of here.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, that makes sense to be able to manifest and just create from atomic
yeah,
structure whatever you need. Yeah.
that's right, because all your building material is in the ether, no matter where you are. Outside of here, it's actually easier to build and to do whatever you want because everything is there. The building blocks are there. This right here, this thought is the glue that puts it together. The more you have focusing on it, you can create it out of the ether. There's no such thing as solid, tangible anything. You make it tangible.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so I'm going to change the subject a little bit, and I want to ask your opinion about something. And the subject is called Mandela effects.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
one of the things I I talk about a lot and that like really helped wake me up were these Mandela effects. Tell me what you know about Mandela effects and what
Oh,
they.
I love Mandela effects.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, when we came into this sim, the Archon had shattered everyone in here. And in the shattering, it shattered us too, because we're energy. We're energy streams coming in, but it got shattered. In the shattering, this is where we get our timelines, our multiple realities, endless multiple realities. We are always, I'm going to add this in. We are always looking for someone to fill us up and make us feel good, and Mr. Right or Mrs. Right or whatever. But what you're really looking for is to fill yourself up with what was taken from you in the shattering. No one's going to fill you up. You need to fill yourself up. So when timeline merges happen, it's us pulling our shards together, because whatever reality comes in, it's a piece of us joining ourselves, and all of a sudden you're satisfied and fulfilled, and you don't know why, or you know this and you know that. We are pulling ourselves together like Humpty Dumpty. And this is the shards.
You know what? It's interesting you say that because I just came back from a soul shard project. Myself and a group of people went to this place called Dun Angus, which is one of the Inishmore Islands off the coast of Ireland. Because remote viewing that, there was what's called a soul shard library from the time of Atlantis, where before Atlantis fell, a lot of us deposited our soul shards there for that. In this timeline, we'd be able to retrieve them and make ourselves more whole again. So that project was completed about a month or so ago, and that library has become open again. And basically what's beginning to happen is that these soul shards are beginning to be returned to people. And there's a priority of how it's working. So those that are, I don't know, considered the movers and the shakers, or those that are really trying to make a difference, they're getting their soul shards first. Basically, everyone's getting their soul shards. They're going to get their soul shards in that library that was deposited there. And right now it's going at a rate of about 100 soul shards per day. So some of us might start to feel more complete and more solid in the reality because of that. And then what I tell people too is that if you're in talking to your divine self or your higher self, however you want to put that, when the soul shards start coming back, make sure that you cleanse them, purify them, and heal them before you integrate them, because they haven't been with you for a really long time. So you want to make sure that they're in really good shape, and then you start integrating them.
Yep, because it's still you. It's still aspects of you.
It's
I
you.
will tell you, one of the reasons for having the Mandela effect is because we remember what it was from another shard's life or experience. And when that gets integrated into you, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But this was a stronger memory. And I remember this. This is why some people remember a lot of things and some people don't remember hardly anything, because it depends on how many timelines in those timelines that have, you don't see, you're also not on every single timeline. That's another thing. Most people don't realize they're not on every single shattered timeline. So when those timelines merge, if you weren't in that timeline, you're not going to benefit from anything from that timeline. And if you were, then you're going to remember, oh yeah, the Monopoly guy had a monocle for his eye, where now there's no such thing. And then it goes on and on and on and on. So it's a core remembrance of what your reality was at one time that's not coinciding with the reality you're in now. Timelines.
Exactly. So that's a good point. So by the way, the image that you're looking at right now is this place off the coast of Ireland. It's an island. It's called Dun Angus, one of the Inishmore Islands. And this is literally where myself and a group of other people went, where the soul shards were collected. So It'd be interesting too if at some point in the future you remote view this to see what you get out of this as well. But yes, it was a very special place. I just wanted to show everyone the image of what that area looks like. Yeah. So the Mandela effect timelines were not all on the same timelines.
Nope.
And basically, for myself, the way I would see it was that it helped show me that the reality wasn't what we think it is.
No.
You know, how could these things be happening? For me, it was a real big wake-up thing. I don't know if there's any Mandela effects that were more like shocking to you than others, or are they all just about equal to you?
To me, since okay, you're talking to someone who basically has a part of the rule book of this game.
Okay.
You're not going to shock me with anything because I've known from the beginning. I've been saying since I was a child all kinds of things, and of course my parents, especially my father, would say, "Oh, you have an imaginative imagination." I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm just telling you what I know." And of course, both of my brothers, they don't believe a word I say until it's in their face, and they still can't accept it because then, how did you know this? And it's, you know, it's just always been a battle. So when I see things coming together, I just sit back and go, oh, it's about time. It's a completely different scenario.
Yeah. So for people like me, and I think a lot of people that watch my channel too, like the Mandela effects really like had like a huge effect, because for me it was Mandela effects. I started to get visions. I started to see things in the Akashic records, and one of the, I don't think I've ever said this before, but one of the things that I would be so super impressed with was that when I would see a vision, it'd be like HD color, and then how it would like blend into the next vision. So I would see like a 10-second movie clip, and then it's almost like all the different elements of what you're looking at blended together somehow to make the next scene work. And I'd be like, wow, that's like really interesting technology, the way that works.
Yeah. Since we are in a sim, I will tell you this. I did video 3 and I talk about, let's take something everyone would be familiar with, a movie. And you know, movies come in frames, each frame, and then they run it to do an entire scene or the entire movie. So because we're in a simulation, there's a frame, there's no frame. There's a frame, there's no frame. It's in the end between where we can actually change, correct, or create the next frame, because we are creating the sim as we go.
Right. And creating it in the now moment for the next
That's
frame
right.
to appear. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good
So
point.
my video 3 is kind of important because it explains, have you ever had your keys somewhere, you laid them down and you know you laid them there, and you go there and like, where the hell are they? And then you look back and they're sitting there. That's you creating them back into your reality.
Yeah, or a day goes by and all of a sudden you find them. Yeah, exactly. Where
Yeah.
they try to, yeah.
And you're like, well, how can I miss that? I looked around 100 times.
Exactly. Yeah. And so a lot of people put that into the category of like a personal Mandela effect. Or I don't know about you, but sometimes I drive around different parts of my neighborhood or where I live, and all of a sudden, like, boy, that house used to be brown, now it's red. Did they paint it overnight? You know, those types of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a really big one when I first came into because I'm living at my brother's house, and because I'm actually going through a divorce. I should be fully divorced probably in January. I've been going through this divorce for 4 years.
Oh my God, I know.
It's terrible. I was married for 35 years, and I'm not the one that wanted to divorce, but that's a long story in itself. I've talked about it on videos. But when I first came here, my niece had a maroon colored vehicle, and when I stepped into the door, she came over in her car, and all of a sudden it was silver. And I'm like, hey, Faith, when did you get a silver car? She goes, what are you talking about, Aunt Sonia? I've always had a silver car. I said, what? There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing happened to myself and my father. He had a certain color pickup truck, and then I saw him again, and it was a completely different color. And I'm like, you painted your pickup truck? You got a different one? He's like, no, it's always been this color. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
no, I'm not none. You are.
Right. Yes. So, okay. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about, because like I probably watched 10 of your videos, but one of the ones that I watched that I was getting like, oh my God, because sometimes people will say things and I'll be like, that's way too out there. But as you were saying it, I was like testing it for myself in the Akashic Records, and I'm like, oh my God, I think Sonia's right about this. It was your video 186. It was about the holographic sky and how the Great Pyramid of Giza takes it down. So I wanted to know if you wanted to talk about that at all,
Oh,
because
sure.
I found that completely fascinating. And I've got
Um,
some screenshots and stuff I could bring up as you're talking. So,
okay, yeah. It was the craziest thing. Um, I was just going along in my day, and some stuff started coming in on me. The next day I had somebody left me a comment, and it was just a little comment. Akashic B, I think that was the person's name. I'm probably never going to forget that name because it led to such revelations. I know that this is a holographic sky above us. The whole thing about meteors is such BS because we're in a dome. Nothing's coming in. Nothing is. Everything that they say was a meteor had a different cause, but I digress. So Akashic B asked me, what about the North Star, which is the North Pole, and Venus? And how come they don't seem to be flickering like all the other stars? And I'm like, well, I have no idea. And as soon as I said, I have no idea, bam, I started getting all these downloads. And I started seeing diagrams and pictures, and it was shown to me like I'm standing in a virtual world and I am being thrown everything you can imagine to show you how this is being done. And it's coming at me extremely fast. Yeah. So basically, when the Giza pyramid was created, it had two systems in it. One system was to take down the dome, the other system was to be, oh my gosh, the best technology ever. It regenerated the soil, it regenerated the water, and it regenerated the atmosphere. That's what it was initially built for, but the subdivision of it being built for, which was the secret, was to take down the dome. And it's like, whoa, because that was actually hidden from this simulation. So, because we're all inside of this dome, we need to get out eventually to go to the bigger earth. But yeah, that video is one of the things about the Kaaba was that I was watching a guy named Martin Lika. He does Flat Earth British. And he was just showing the Kaaba. And as soon as he showed the Kaaba, while I was doing this pyramid diagram, I was shown how it works and what the capstone was. And I'm like, oh my God. I was so excited that day because then here I was again in this holographic reality being shown how this all works step by step. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to do a video on this and more diagrams. And so one thing led to another. You know, everything is presented to you where you can stumble on it so you can be downloaded.
I definitely agree with that. I find the same thing happens to me. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Yeah.
But it was really something. Please go watch that video. That video is quite interesting.
Yeah. So in this picture, you've got the Great Pyramid of Giza at the bottom. And
Mm-hmm.
as the cap, we normally think of the capstone for a pyramid to be like another pyramid, right?
Yeah, but
But
no, it's not.
so yes, so the Merkaba capstone, explain that, because I think
Well,
it has something to do with this.
well, that Kaaba, yeah, there it is. Inside of that, they had put brick and wall or whatever all around it. It's a Vermana. It's a golden Vermana, and it's sequenced to open up. It's the key that opens up the entire pyramid working. You have this metal rod that you would have to shove down this one area. You have to stand on this pad, and if you have the correct DNA match, you would be downloaded with the information to work the pad on the side of the wall, which is like a keypad. And at that point, you are then hooked up to the Vermana here, and you mentally standing there can move this Vermana. You can make it do anything. It's also got a yes, that right there is technology the whole thing is technology. It's also gold underneath all of that brickwork, where it creates its own toroidal field. So you could go like a 90-degree at millions of miles an hour and never be smashed against the side. Basically, this thing is geared to be the capstone that once you put it onto the pyramid, it literally activates the Merkaba body of the pyramid, which is an energetic body underneath of the pyramid, which gets it running. One goes this way and one goes this way, and it activates the energy that the pyramid is created by, just like that, to go up, hit that North Pole star, go to Venus, and from there, it goes and opens up the dome, and it doesn't open like, it actually starts to dissolve. Now, Venus is a crystalline energy tech, and it builds and rebuilds itself into its perfect shape, and it's self-sustaining energy. The North Star, I did a diagram on that, and it kind of looks like the top of a disco ball, and the bottom is a sheath of like crystalline, and we don't get to see the top because of the angle it's at. And it's actually the mechanism inside of the dome to open up the dome. And everything else inside of here is basically holographic.
Okay. I'm so with you, especially how everything is holographic, without a doubt. Now, when you remote viewed it, you remote viewed something inside the Kaaba.
Yes.
One of these things.
One of those things.
Yeah, the Vimana.
Yeah, because when I first looked at it, when I was watching Martin Leacock, I looked at that thing, and all of a sudden I saw this. I couldn't even see what was actually on the screen. I just kept seeing this. I'm like, what am I looking at here?
Yeah, so these like, so I was actually going through, and I was like, okay, is there actually a Vimana in this Mecca cube type thing?
Yes, there's a Vimana in there.
Yeah, so I'm going to say that from the information I'm getting, I'm going to confirm what you're saying, and I'm going to say that it's out of phase. In other words, this might be a seventh dimensional Vimana that, a normal person walking in there would never, walk right through it, right? You'd have no idea that it's there.
No. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, so that's interesting. And just going back, this is a section of the cube of Mecca. It's like a special black stone that was supposed to be from the time of Adam and Eve. And when you walk around the Mecca in that counterclockwise direction, everyone's supposed to try to reach out and touch the stone. And if you can't touch it, you're supposed to point to it. So it makes me think if they're trying to find someone that has the right DNA.
It's exactly what it is. They want out. They want this dome open. Look, the bad guys want out as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
And they were imprisoned in here.
Yeah, exactly. This is like so fascinating how one dot connects to another dot.
I will add this in. Think about when they came out with, find out your ancestry.
Oh,
and you have to get blood. What do you think they're using that blood for? They're trying to find out if anybody matches.
Interesting.
That's what that's about.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I know people like commonly give blood and so forth and all that.
That's a mistake.
Well, for myself, I know my divine self has told me, like, I'm not to give any bodily fluids or donate blood or anything like that. So,
I see so many agendas with the blood issue. I look, keep your blood in your body where it belongs.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the whole concept of having this capstone on the Great Pyramid of Giza, that's like a cube with a Vimana inside of it. It kind of reminded me of the different pyramids in Mexico. And let me see. There's one I was going to bring up. Can't seem to find it. Oh, this is Chichen Itza in Mexico. And this is what you would call a step pyramid. And it has multiple steps. This one, I believe, is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is what I call a ninth dimensional step pyramid. And I've actually made videos about these. And the concept is that with this pyramidal structure, you could actually bring something from an upper dimension, like the ninth dimension, down into this reality. And there'd be like a collection thing at the bottom of somewhere at the bottom of the pyramid. And they found all kinds of interesting things at the bottom of pyramids, like mercury deposits that shouldn't be
Oh
there and
yeah.
so forth. So, but the whole concept of Giza having like a cube at the top, I thought was really interesting. And maybe there's different purposes. Maybe the cube with this particular Vimana would, bring down so the holographic projection of the sky that we see would change. It's almost like, I think of it as possibly like we're in a planetarium.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
see how everything's supposed to be in the planetarium, and all of a sudden the planetarium dissolves, and we're like, oh crap, that's what's really out there. Yeah, like that type of a concept. Yeah, I gotcha. And then
Every single pyramid does have a purpose. The Giza is the one to open up the dome, though. But there are every single continent has, and even out in the ocean, there are pyramids.
Yeah,
they all have their purposes, and they're all linked to a certain time frame. They would say they would like to divide all these pyramids that they were different time frames, but no, not really. No, our time is not even right. It's so skewed.
yeah, I would agree with that. Just real quick, on the screen right now is an aerial view of the Pyramid of Giza, and you could see the way the points come together. It forms an area where a cube could be put there. So
Yeah.
depending on whether it's a capstone with a pyramidal point or a cube, whatever it is, could serve different purposes.
Yeah. Well, I actually drew a cube because that would show you it was the Kaaba, but without all that crap around it, it would just be the Vimana. So you could just set it as a platform. I do know that the pyramids literally have extra sides that you can only see one time a year. It's crazy. It's got like 8 sides in total, but you can only see them once a year.
Okay.
And you might want to research that. It's very interesting.
Okay. The other thing I was going to mention was if people have seen like the stone glyphs of the like Anunnaki carrying like the purse, or they have like a wristwatch. I made this video called Gucci of the Gods, where I talk about how these pocketbooks or purses that they're holding actually represent pocket universes, but they also would wear watches. And one of the purposes of the watches that I was getting was call your ship. So let's say that, you had a Vimana as a ship, you could actually call your ship based upon the watch that you're wearing. And I wanted to mention too, that a lot of times people think about the Vimana as being like something that's just Indian or Hindu, but that's not necessarily the case. Like they're associated with it, but they've been along for like a long time. These the Vimana. So all different cultures, all different root races, different founders, like they were using this technology from a long time ago.
Oh yeah. I will add this, Chris. In the very beginning, when this place was created, it was based on 1,000 years from where we are now. And at that time, it was the highest pinnacle of technology. It was like what we are outside of here. All we have done since we've been in here is digress. We are at the lowest, not only in our infrastructure because we're using living things, but also in our mindset. It's even gotten less and less and less. Our entire avatars were taken down to a most miserable level. All we've done since we've created this sim has been to digress.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also feel things are starting to go back on the upswing, as the pendulum swings.
Like a pendulum.
Yeah. Well, the same word came into our minds at the same time.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I let my hair down, so now I'm getting really relaxed. So this is all cool. This is all good.
Is that a metaphysical thing? I've let my hair down?
Yeah, it must be. It must be. So looking at some of your other videos too, you talk about the concept of kaleidoscope Earth. And I think you mentioned in one of the videos I watched, you saw the movie Doctor Strange.
Yes, I finally saw that. I saw 2 of them. I think there was 2 of them.
Yeah, like the Metaverse of Madness, I think was one of them.
Yeah. And that was there's always truth drops and everything. They'll give you a grain of truth here, and here.
Exactly. That's what a lot of my videos are I always include soft disclosure from movies, because it's either truth or a distortion of the truth, but the truth is in there, right? So with the Doctor Strange multiverse of madness, it was showing like him bouncing in all these different realities, right? All these like crazy realities. And I've seen the same type of thing. I'm like, what the heck? Like, these are really weird realities that are existing out there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When I did the kaleidoscope, I was really excited because I started having, of course, more stuff coming in. And it's like, wow, this is really awesome. Everything is perspective. The more you open up, the more you can see. Now, I've always seen through some of the dimensions, just a few. This is why I can see elves and fairies and Bigfoot and what have you. I mean, da 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 da, because they're actually in different dimensions and they can come in and out. I will tell you that the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, the Yeti, the Chartreuse, whatever you want to call it, it's half plant life. It's a cryptid. It's half human, half plant life. And what it can do is it can transverse into trees. Trees carry multiple dimensions depending on the tree. Each tree carries a different multitude of dimensions. So they bite into a branch or something, match that frequency, and they're gone out of your reality. They're still here. You just can't see them anymore, and you can't interact with them because they're not here, but they're here.
Gotcha. As we're talking, I'm just going to play part of this Doctor Strange and how he was falling through all these different realities and cartoon realities and people that like look like they're painted. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I've seen like all kinds of things like these types of concepts as well. So yeah, it's super fascinating, because when we start to get access to all this, so many things are going to start to make sense. There's even like fairy tale realities.
Yeah.
Like realities based upon like we call fairy tales that are actually realities, or Wizard of Oz realities, Land of Oz, those type of concepts. Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
I will tell you, we are living in the remnants of the Alice in Wonderland reality. And this is what it's turned into. But in the beginning, it was an Alice in Wonderland reality.
Ooh, follow the white rabbit.
Yep.
That's what we're doing, right down the rabbit hole.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Very interesting.
This is what happens when the Red Queen AI takes it over and collapses your reality.
Now, have you ever considered that, okay, another concept, the way the reality could work, was that basically, well, like Shakespeare said, like all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. So do you see things as a possibility that we are being observed even?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Tell me about that.
It's kind of like the Truman Show.
Yeah, like the Truman Show. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Every single energy being, because we do have a distinction in what's here. We have NPCs, non-players, and then we have the energy beings. We are absolutely watched and gauged. Absolutely.
Okay, so you brought up something really, really interesting too about like the NPC, what people call the NPCs. Dolores Cannon spoke about that.
Backdrop people.
Yeah, the backdrop people. So one of the things that I do is that for myself, just as easily as you can remote view, I know who a player is. I know what kind of player they are. I know I could tell who the walk-ins are pretty easily. I know about the NPCs. I know who they are. And one of the things people should realize about NPCs that will kind of blow their mind is that a lot of times they think that they're just there to maybe cause problems, or they're going to be the ones that buy all the toilet paper, when there's a pandemic and you don't have any toilet paper because of those NPCs that bought it. But I've actually met people that fall into the NPC category that have their third eye turned on.
That's right.
That can speak light language. I can tell you the
answer to this. When Sophia created this reality inside of her mainframe, she wanted to have a real life experience. She created them from only here from a moment all the way up to the most intelligent, feeling, loving, what have you being. Oh, yes, she did. So you have a true experience.
Yeah, exactly. And like it leads to other concepts too. So how the NPCs work, how the players work, how we're interacting, the drama that we have in our lives, how we react to that. Can we still raise our frequency even with all the drama and so forth? The way I see things working on so we've got the actors on a stage category in a holographic universe. I see things also being literally a game. And I'll call it like almost like we're experiencing like a video game.
Yeah.
And so if you were to play a video game, you could have, a game, there's a popular one called Grand Theft Auto. And it could be like a huge map. I don't know, it could be like a 500 square mile radius map. And if you've got, 100 players playing that game, it's not going to render the whole map to you. It only renders it as a player who has the consciousness energy when they come into view, and we see it on our holographic projection screen, as we see it through our eyes. So what do those type
I
of
know, I
concepts?
exactly know the answer to this. I've
Okay,
been
go
asked
ahead.
before because this is actually a common question. Does the tree make a sound in the forest when it falls if no one's there to hear it? Same kind of thing. I'm
Yeah,
going to tell you, the only thing keeping up any part of the simulation working is the energy being. If there's no energy being in that space, it does not even exist.
yes, yes, exactly.
Period. Now, this leads to another thing.
Go ahead.
What happens when you have the Dark Archon who is using this as a feeding ground and he wants to keep all the energy beings here? You don't want the energy beings raising their vibration and leaving, do you? There goes your food source. You just found a trough of food. You don't want to lose it, right?
Right.
So you do whatever you can to make sure that everything stays on a most miserably low level. Nobody's going to raise their vibration. No one's going anywhere.
Exactly. And the one big way that happens too is by taking sides. Like
Yeah.
I find that like when it comes to politics and that type of thing, everyone's taking sides. This political party is better than this one, and this guy is better than that one, or whatever. So it kind of keeps you entrapped more into the
That's
matrix.
right.
Or drama with your family, or drama at work, or
Yeah.
wherever there's drama, it keeps you like sucked into the matrix.
Yes, it does, because it likes to keep you on a low vibration. It'll find your weakest link and then it'll throw it at you again and again and again. And if you keep biting that bait, it'll keep throwing it at you.
It reminds me, there's this animated movie called Monsters Inc. And in Monsters Inc., the way the monsters they would come into like little kids' bedrooms and something and would scare them, and the kid would be, I see a monster. But then they were doing that so they could harvest energy for the world that they lived in. So yeah, I think that was another big soft disclosure thing, as well as many other things to show how important it is for that energy to be taken from us and used elsewhere. But basically, you're right. If a player character is not observing something, and then later they observe it, like they walk into the woods and they see the tree has fallen down. Well, the system has done all the calculations, the computer system that controls everything. So there's the tree there, but literally no one actually, it didn't make a noise because there wasn't a player there to see it. But if there is a camera there that a player could observe through a remote camera or something, that's almost like the same effect.
That's an observer.
As an observer.
When there's an observer and any energy being linked to anything that can observe, it will have something to observe. This simulation will give you what you expect to find and what you expect to have, and da 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 da.
Yeah, and how like what's happening too in the world of quantum mechanics, there are things that people are, it's pretty much accepted in the scientific community, things like what's called the double slit experiment.
Yes.
The way electrons work, how the observer changes the observed, that type of a thing.
That's right.
And last year, the winners of the Nobel Prize in Physics went to three gentlemen, and their whole premise was that the universe is not locally real. So there's more and more things that are coming out to show that what we see is not what we think it is, not what we've been taught that it is. And then if we are dreaming, can we turn this into a true lucid dream where we can,
if we can wake up.
Yes, exactly. And there's so many things holding us back.
Another thing that's always getting me, it's kind of a trigger thing for electrons and neutrons and da 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 da. All there is energy. Energy carries just like a yin and yang, a positive and a negative, and it's always together. And if it ever gets separated, it will do everything it can to reconnect. It's the dark and the light. You can call it all kinds of different things, but it's never what they say it is. It's only energy, positive and negative. That is it. That's everything. That's the nutshell. None of this other crap is even real. They've invented that crap.
Yeah, and energy and consciousness, and
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
yes.
Yeah, consciousness, energy, that's really powering everything. Absolutely.
I think what they try to do is they try to make it so complicated. You'll just be like, give it up. I don't want to think about it. It's too much. Just the hell with it. I can't understand it. When it's as simplistic as it gets, everything comes down to thought and energy pushes into physicality.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the whole process. We're all starting to figure that out. Some of us are more ahead of the game than others, but we're all going to get there. Like all the players are eventually. I hope. I don't, some I'm afraid have fallen too far asleep. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure if everyone's going to make it.
I will add this in. If you wanted to keep something on a really low vibrational level, you're going to introduce something, metals, what have you, technologies, so that they can control the vibration you carry. Okay.
Good point.
You're really going to be having a hard time raising a vibration when you are controlled.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think people that are like watching this on both of our channels totally
Understand that. On
Yeah,
my
totally.
channel, absolutely, because I have a no hold barred thing kind of going on, and I say everything. It's like I'll say stuff, and I should have had my channel taken down years ago. But there's also the bad guys watching, and they want to know as much as the good guys want to know. And because of it, I've been allowed to stay. I've had up to 2 strikes, and then they just give me warnings after the 2 strikes because they really don't want my channel to go missing anyway. Because I could get pissed off enough to say, screw you. I'm not giving anybody any more information. Figure it out yourself. And they don't really want that.
Yeah, because I think they're even understanding how the timelines are splitting, the bifurcation, how you've got like what I call the golden age timeline going one direction, the age of chaos going in another. And I think the technology that they used to use, things like Project Looking Glass and those type of things, are not, I think before they could give them months or years ahead. And I think now it's down to literally hours. Like they can't predict the future more than hours.
We've crossed over. We're in a time frame. Everything is actually gauged by moon phases, whole chunks of time. Right now, I did a video where I was talking about, how the moon used to wax and wane, left to right, right to left.
Oh, tell me about this.
It's upside down.
Oh, yeah.
I found an Egyptian pictograph where it shows the moon upside down with the little Alibaba star on top. And this is why the moon marks time. The moon has always marked time. Where the moon is in any given reality is significant because it marks time.
Yeah, as you're talking, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm going to find that picture so people can, because the whole thing about the moon, they think they call it the smiling moon or the wet moon.
Yeah, the Cheshire moon.
Yeah, the Cheshire cat moon. I never saw that
not
before.
In my reality.
Okay, I found a picture of it, but it's a really tiny one. So people that have a big screen will be able to see it, but basically, yeah, these I forget what culture this is from, but it's showing the moon in that smiling configuration, which I never saw before.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. So what does that mean? Does that mean
that we're in a time of great, huge change? This is a game setter. Anytime you get to the moon that's like that, it's going to change the entire paradigm of the entire sim. It's a paradigm changer. And it's not just a physical paradigm changer, it's a mental construct change.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, like some people were like, oh, I've always known about, the smiling moon. And I'm like, really? Yeah, to me, like, I think there's like 3 or 4 months out of the year where it goes into that configuration. But I'm looking at the moon all the time, and I've never seen it. And it's it's like really shocking to see the moon like that.
Yeah, I have never seen the moon like that. I used to always watch the moon. I just had this intuition, watch the moon. When the moon changes, and I didn't even know the moon was going to change, but I had this in the back of my head. When the moon changes, you're on. It's time. Curtains are opening. You better be out there. You got to do your job.
Yeah. And you know what? I heard just last week, I heard someone say something that was like, that's ridiculous. But then I was testing it and I'm like, oh my God, I think she's correct. But basically, the moon is the backside of the sun. And I'm like, the moon is the backside of the sun. That doesn't make any sense. Because we're taught like, the sun is this and the moon is this, and blah blah blah. Like the way the hologram is supposed to work. All the different rotating planets and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like tuning into that a little bit more, and I'm like, I think that it started to trigger some things inside of me. And then like your right eye is the moon and your left eye is the sun. And I believe there's like esoteric knowledge with that. So I don't want anyone to like get hung up on what I just said, but I think concepts like that, when you hear them, begin to help you understand like what this reality is all about. So it's just a way to start thinking out of the box. I always like thinking out of the box or thinking outside the cube.
Yeah.
And I talk about the concept of the unfolding of the cube, or the hypercube, or the tesseract, because I think we're going through a process where time is going to start changing for us. Like we've been locked into time inside of a cube, so to speak. And then that's a 3-dimensional cube. And then the next phase is to go to a 4-dimensional cube called a hypercube or a tesseract. And then that's giving us another level of the way the reality works. And like we've set, the course is laid in, and I don't know when it's going to happen, but I think it's going to be happening a lot sooner than people think.
It's already, okay. I did a video on this. I made a mistake when I said one thing. We had our first Mandela effects, the big ones, the ones that everyone's were like scratching their heads, was in 2012. 2012 was always taunted to be the end of the world. No, it was the end of the cabal, the beginning of the end of the cabal, but the beginning of waking up to our new reality. In 2017, we're no longer in the same place in space. We were actually swapped out to a different part of the snow globe.
Yeah. And actually, a lot of people that are Mandela affected, they talk about that concept, but in a different way. They talk about how we were always taught that we were in the Milky Way galaxy, way out on the edge of the Sagittarius arm. And then all of a sudden, after 2012, science has always taught us we're in what's called the Orion Spur. So literally we got moved. Like when you look, there's different perceptions. So I don't think anyone should lock into one perception, but the perception is that we were in one place and now we're someplace else. That's basically the bottom line.
Yep. I actually did a video on this. Don't ask me the numbers. I never remember what videos I've done. I just do them and forget them.
Okay.
Because once the information's out, okay, I did what I needed to do. So when I started my channel, I will tell you this. I only started it because I was I couldn't get around not doing it anymore. I really needed to get my information out. I have a friend named Arthur. I'd known him for a little while. And he's like, Sonia, you need to get your information out, because I was talking to other people about it. And they're like, Sonia, you need to start a channel. And I was being nagged about starting a channel for a long time. It's like, okay, finally, I got to do this. So I started my channel because of Arthur. He's like, Sonia, you have so many answers. You need to help humanity. Do it. I said, okay, on one condition. I don't want to do anything that deals with money, because I don't like the cursed Babylonian money system, which actually goes back before that. Yes. And I said, I will not do anything that deals with that. If the information comes out, it's free to everyone. I will never charge. So I started doing Skype meetings on top of it. I did Skype meetings for 3 years. I've talked to, I don't know how many people. It's been so many. I can't remember everyone I talked to. Sometimes I would talk for an hour. Sometimes I would talk for multiple hours. They would ask me endless questions. I would answer everything. And then I would say, what are you going to do with all the information? And some of them would say, well, nothing. I said, well, isn't that a shame? Isn't that a shame?
Yeah.
I've told you everything you ever want to know, and you're not going to do anything with it. So it's time for everyone. You've been given answers. You don't even have to take the test. I'm giving you the answers. Do something with it. Step to the plate. It's your turn. Batter up.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't necessarily have to like create a YouTube channel or anything like that, but you just share it with people that you come in contact with. But yeah, so for me, I find the same thing with Mandela effects. Like when I would, at the beginning stage when I was waking up, I was so excited about these Mandela effects. I would talk to people about it, and you either get the deer in the headlights look, or someone like is affected by it, and then, you know, what are you going to do with that information? And they're like, well, I still got to put food on the table. What difference does it make if the Monopoly man doesn't have a monocle anymore? So yeah, but I'm like, doesn't that show you that there's more going on, and you should like further research this, and you should figure out what's going on in the reality? And most people are like, no, it doesn't really affect my life. So I got too many other things to, you know, I'm
How
so,
shallow? Because this place is like a web. It'll keep you webbed in like a little spider would web in its little prey. And if you don't start thinking outside of the box, and you don't start thinking of a grander scale other than yourself, yes, you still have to think about yourself, but we can't become narcissists here. Look at the reality we're in, because narcissism has become number one.
true, true. And one of the things you mentioned too, you talked about the Babylonian money magic system.
Yeah.
So for me, so again, for people that watch your channel that don't know me, I own a software company that specializes in food distribution. And one of the things that woke me up was my own clients, because with Mandela effects, because they would say things like, what happened to my Stouffer's stovetop stuffing? I'm like, what are you talking about? Your system changed it to Kraft. And I'm like, you've got a bug in your software. But the reality is, in this timeline, Stouffer's stovetop stuffing never existed. So,
Wow.
but that's just one of like thousands of Mandela effects, right? So they were affecting me in that way as well. But basically, so I'm a business owner, and I see what a joke the monetary system is. The emperor has no clothes.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what I know there's going to be a new way of like how value is exchanged, but this whole, and I hope this video doesn't get taken down for me saying this, but the whole monetary system, the Federal Reserve, it's just ridiculous.
Yes. Well, money was only ever introduced as a complete, total enslaving system that worked.
Right. Exactly, because now you don't have to control the slaves with cages and whips. Instead, you pay them, and they do all this work for you, but you just made this money system that has value that's really based on nothing. So
Exactly.
yeah.
And the fact that they can devalue it in the next moment. Oh, all of a sudden you don't have any worth.
Well, I will tell you, like every civilization that I'm aware of, I'll say most every civilization. Ooh, something's poking me as I'm saying this. Doesn't want me to say this, but let's take the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire fell because one of the things is its monetary system had lost its value. The gold coinage they used to use like disappeared, and they were using copper, and so all of a sudden when a monetary system gets devalued like that, like what's happening now, I believe what's happening now in the financial system, that's a sign that things are ending and that there's going to be something new, almost like a parallel economy that comes up.
Yeah.
And will that be based on blockchain or those type of, I don't know. I can't.
I will tell you this. I don't want to go to any system where we're going to have hairy-fairy smoke and mirrors numbers that mean nothing. And then the second you don't do anything big government likes, you're shut out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, oh, because I'm going to be shut out from day one.
You're already on a list. So yeah.
I'm already on the list. I'm on the list. Oh yeah, I'm on the list.
Yeah.
I'm on the list.
Yeah. So I think the bottom line from our conversation is that we see the reality is not what we've been taught. We know that it's holographic possibility of a dream reality, video game concept, actors on a stage, being observed all the time, all these different elements, and how we're like bringing all this. So you've got your perspective with your remote viewing, and then I've got my perspective from Akashic Records and so forth, and a little bit of remote viewing that I do. So we're all bringing this information together. And I just want to like really thank you for the work that you've done.
I watched 2 of your videos.
Oh, okay.
I loved them. I don't remember the titles, but one was they were both fabulous.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
I'll have to tell you when I go back and look and see what they were called. I'm really bad with names. But I was thinking, you are really together. Wow, you're together. Because a lot of, I'm not going to say a lot, but some of the people I talk to, they, this goes in levels of what you know. And I was like, wow, he's really got his schnizzle together.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. One of the things I talk about too is, well, quantum businessman, my logo is like the universe is based off of commerce. And a lot of people kind of misread what that really means, but I'll give you an example. So if we're in a game, that kind of a concept, you have different skills that maybe someone else does. Or if you're literally in a game, I say role players in a role-playing game, change the role and change the game. But you have inventory, you have skills, you have this, you have that. So commerce means trade. So let's say you're really good at remote viewing and I'm really good at generating abundance. So one of the things, and we're probably doing this right now, I think we are, and people that are watching us, if they want, their higher selves can also be part of this. But basically, you trade blueprints. You don't give anything away. So let's say I have a blueprint for how to create abundance, and I've got 900 different blueprints for how to create abundance. You might have a skill for remote viewing. You might have like 1,000 different remote viewing blueprints. And I might say, man, there's 10 I've been looking for. You've got those 10 that I need. I'll trade you these 25 abundance. The transaction happens in the unseen. And as I'm saying this, my head is tingling. I've gotten some crown activity. So yeah, so there's like a whole other level to how this all works out. So when we interact like this, it's also super important.
Yeah, I will tell you that abundance. I'm actually dead broke and I don't care. And I've never cared about money because it doesn't do anything for me. What does things for me is this. It's more important than anything to me. That's what I deem important. I'm not a shopper. I can't stand shopping.
Yeah,
I'd rather go stick my face into a book or do something and go out into nature and touch
absolutely.
a tree and get downloads. And that's what makes my day.
Well,
So
yeah. So when I say abundance too, I don't necessarily mean money. I
yeah,
mean like health,
yes.
love,
Mhm.
family, like all those types of things there's all different levels to it. So again, like don't think it's just like one,
Yeah,
something or
yeah.
another.
I am probably very, very blessed. Um, I've never had to really want for anything. I did have my own business for 17 years. I did an
Okay.
ice cream business. So I run a business, no problem. I have the mind for it.
Okay.
But then I put it down because it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. So years later, then I ended up going through a divorce because my husband wanted to get divorced. And it's like, okay, whatever. And then he went and took all of these and now he's exhibiting Alzheimer's, dementia, and after 35 years of being with him, he didn't even know who I am anymore. He doesn't know what I look like.
Oh my God.
I'm like, okay, well, you made a poor choice. If I would have stayed in your reality, this wouldn't be your reality because I was the leading force in his reality.
Oh, very
So
interesting.
it's like intervention was done. It had nothing to do with what I wanted because I wanted to have a retirement, go and play. I mean, I spent 35 years with this person. I
Right.
wanted to die with this person, but
Right.
that didn't work out. So I am here. My brother's in Taiwan. I've been living here by myself for all these years. He'll be coming back in November. It just seems like everything was just laid in front of me, as broke as I am. I've never had to want for anything.
There you go. You're being yeah, you're being taken care of. And that's the way
Yeah,
it works
really,
too. Yeah, exactly. Just out of curiosity, what was your business? What did you do?
oh, I did a soft ice cream truck. It was the size of a UPS truck. I did 15 to 12% mix, mostly 15. I had a 7K generator, huge, huge. Had to get
Okay.
a crane to get it in there, a little, cherry picker. My husband actually created it out of a box fan. We had 4 sinks, hot and cold running water, ice cream machines. I made sundaes, banana splits, milkshakes. I did company parties. I did big events where there was 30, 40,000 people on a weekend.
Wow.
I made bank.
Wow.
But because my husband had his issues, I never had any money because as soon as I would make it, it'd be gone.
Oh my God.
So
Oh my
I
God.
have made over 17 years. I've probably made so much money, it would scare you. And I literally had nothing to show for it because it was gambling, drinking, drugging, this, that, this, that, this, that. It just wasn't there for me. But I did enjoy my job. I came across every walk of life. I love people, so it benefited me too.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, every day is a great day for ice cream.
Yes, it is. Nobody comes to the truck. I'm so angry. No.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I'm sure you made a lot of people smile. A
Oh,
lot of people
yeah.
smile. Awesome. So, Sonia, I just want to again thank you for your time today. Um, I would invite you to come back onto the show again in the future. If anyone has any questions for Sonia, just put them in the comments below. And yeah, I'd love to I'm going to watch more of your videos. Probably will want to take a deep dive into some of the subjects you talk about because like that whole Merkaba thing at the top of the pyramid like was blowing my mind. So yeah, so those type of things, like you bring up things that I've never even considered before. So it's great.
But it's been great talking to you, Chris. I've really cut back on doing my videos. I just got to where it's like I've talked about so much stuff.
Right.
And when people keep asking me the same things over and over, it's like, please just peruse my videos. If you can't find everything, please go to my Odyssey. I'm the Tree of Knowledge, Sonia Testerman. You can find me. Odds are, if you have any questions, they're there in a video. I've answered a lot of things. There's still things I need to talk about that I haven't done videos on. But I will be putting new videos out, but they will be about things I have not spoken of before.
Okay.
Um, you should check out my cryptid video. I did one with my daughter and I found out a bunch of stuff about cryptids and wow, that was interesting.
Okay. It's funny because just the other day somebody was talking to me about cryptids and a woman who's like a cryptid hunter, and I'm like, wow, there's a cryptid hunter, and
Cryptids have been around since the beginning. They were created by the fallen ones, the Anuna, the Anunnaki, crystalline city beings. They were playing with the genetics of, and these mythologies should be our archaeologies. They're still here. They're in our big park systems. They didn't go anywhere. They're also dimensional. So depending, like if everything gets real quiet around you and all of a sudden you see a cryptid, it's because you slipped into their dimension.
yeah, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. I know in Atlantis they were doing all that kind of stuff. They were
Oh, yes, they
experimenting
were.
with things.
The Atlanteans, they weren't called Atlanteans, they were called something else. I can't pronounce it. They
Okay.
were the crystalline city beings.
You said crystalline city beings?
They were the crystalline city beings.
Okay, explain that. Crystalline city
Okay,
beings.
the Atlanteans, everyone, because our history's been so whacked out and a lot of it's been completely hidden from us,
Oh yeah.
uh, the crystalline city beings that came down into this reality were on a higher dimension. They wanted to have a 3D reality. They
Right.
wanted to know what it was like to have the five senses: taste, smell, touch, see,
Right.
feel. I mean, hear. And then, of course, they already had the sixth sense. So when they came in and they were there and they still couldn't experience 3D, that's when they fell into 3D by eating. The more they ate, the more they became human. And when they became human, they lost their godness. Let's just call it that. And they started to get wrapped up into the 3D so deeply, they wanted to experience more, more, more. And then it started to get twisted, 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 because they needed the new high, the new high. I mean, it's
Right.
like going to an amusement park, riding everything, and you're like, what else you got? I need
Right.
more thrill. It's too common. I need the initial newness of something again. And this is what was the fall. This is what it was all about.
So when you said they were eating everything, what were they eating? Like literally
They
everything?
started eating things here that were 3D and it started to change them. They came into more corporeal bodies through the beings that were here. They would join with them like a joining, like a walk in. And over a while, they started joining to the point where they were eating the food and there was two beings in a single body. And through birth, they would take on the avatar because there weren't enough avatars to go around. Everybody that had an avatar was a real energy being, not like it is today where you have all these empty avatars and only a few energy beings in all these avatars.
Okay, that's really interesting. I haven't heard about that concept before, but I know there's a lot of, like when I try to look at Atlantis and even ancient Egypt, I think there are so many timeline changes. So like for ancient Egypt, I was getting there are at least 4 major timeline changes. So like you look at the Akashic records, what timeline are you looking on? It's like it
Yeah.
gets it
The
gets
thing of it
complicated.
is, when you use the Akashic records, because everything is there from every single timeline, you're going to be a bit confused. You're going to be like, wait a minute, wasn't it that? Well,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Well, yes, it was, but it was also A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and maybe Z and X.
I know, right? It gets very, yeah, there's been all kinds of changes. There's a concept of timeline wars,
Mhm.
wars over the timelines, and
And yes, I talk about timeline. Oh, Chris, we would be talking forever.
I know. Okay, we'll save it for the next podcast. Yeah, very cool. So I've got some stuff to research on your channel for sure.
Okay.
So thank you for that. And I want to thank everyone for listening, for watching. Thank you everyone for staying to the end. And like I said, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And Sonia, I'm going to leave links to your YouTube channel and your Odyssey channel so people
Thank
can
you.
find all the work that you've done.
Thank you.
All right.
And it was a great pleasure talking to you. And I would like to do another video with you.
Yeah, yeah, it would be really good. And if you come up with anything new, or even in the world stage, things are changing, right? You got,
Yes.
at first we talked about the fire in Maui and the lightning that comes up from the ground, like all these things that are like really time sensitive. I'm sure there's going to be just
They're
give,
all connected. They're all connected to. I'm gonna just okay. You're gonna want to talk to me more, but let me just add this in. There was a book that was created, the Something Code, where they took the Torah and it's actually the code book for this reality. It was written at the end. This is why it is the code book. It's called the Something Code book, and it's based on the Torah. Greg Braden talks about this,
ooh,
and you really should research that. And because of that, you can change anything, because in the end of the code book, it says, if you let things stand the way they are, it will unfold this way. So this is a mutable reality, which we can change, which I go into all of that all the time, because you are making the next frame. But it's called the Something Code book. What the
yeah,
heck is that called?
yeah. So
Based on the Torah.
I'm looking online. It's called Greg Braden's The Torah Code.
Oh, please watch that video. Wow, that's going to blow you out of the water.
Okay, that's really interesting. Because when I hear about code, I think of like the Da Vinci Code, those type of things. This
Yeah.
is obviously
Well,
on a whole other level.
actually, Chris, everything in here has a code because we're in a simulation. The table has a code. I have a code. My eye has a code. My tongue has a code. That apple has a code. Everything has a code. And then we could go into, why are they changing our food by GMO? Because they're changing the codes. If you change the codes, you don't have anything to self-repair, because you are a biological machine.
Right, right. And we all give off what's called the signature frequency. And I say that our name on our birth certificate, it like resonates as our signature frequency does.
Mhm. But the codes he's talking about is the Torah. And the
Right.
Torah is literally the game book. You know how you can buy a game book for any game?
Yeah.
And it has everything in it? The
Yeah.
Torah is the game book. And they want to change it. They want to make it into an AI regenerated game book, which would change the codes. Basically, you're taking the cheat codes away.
Okay, so I'm going to leave a link to Greg Braden's The Torah Code Book. And I'm sure people that are watching this, some of them have already seen this video, so you might be able to put in some comments about what you think. And then if you haven't, like maybe if you watch this, it looks like it's a 25-minute video, so it's not a big.
Yeah, it's worth watching.
Yeah, it's worth 25 minutes of your life. I think you can do it. Yeah, and put your comments about how you feel about that. I don't know anything. I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know anything about it, but I'm very interested to see what other viewers, think about that. So it's cool. That's great advice. Something else to look at to help understand the reality. And even the Bible, I believe, is a book of codes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Numbers in there like the 144,000. There's all codes in there. So yeah, and that's another story where we'll leave that to another time. So very good.
I better not mention any more things.
I know. We'll keep going.
Sorry, Chris.
No, it's okay. It's all good because we all want that knowledge. It helps us break down what the reality is about. And then what everyone should do is figure out the best way for you to actually use this information. how are you going to use it? How is it going to improve your life? How is it going to improve the life of the ones you love and all that? So yeah, absolutely. Share. So please like and subscribe to Sonia's channel, like and subscribe to my channel. And yeah, let's do this again.
Okay, bye.